Guys, you know, FanDuel is the official sponsor of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. You heard us talk a lot about it before, and we're going to remind you guys why FanDuel is the undisputed #1 sportsbook in America. We have a little something different for you guys going on right now. Starting now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to download America's #1 sportsbook.
All right, so we got Zac Jackson here from The Athletic. Zac, how are you doing?
So you brought me here to argue, huh? Let's go.
Yeah, no.
Well, because the difference is, everybody thinks about Austin Watkins last year, how he had a great preseason, but they still cut him.
Yeah.
This was a draft pick. And
right.
You know how people
pick.
are about, you know how he is with
Watkins
draft
showed
picks.
up 20 minutes before the first practice.
So, like, to me, I thought the chances of him making it was more than him getting cut because of the fact simply he was a draft pick. But the way that he played well in the preseason, that just kind of made me be like, all right, they're cool with moving off of other guys because they have him.
Zac, you, in your last projection, had him off and had somebody not on the roster.
Then my first projection I had.
Oh, that was the first?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, Mike, you screwed me up.
No, I didn't have him
put out an
on
update
in my
on it,
last
I'll be
projection.
Oh, your last. Right,
Yeah,
okay.
no, I immediately kind of had some buyer's remorse there. But
okay.
I would say that Tyvis is right, like 75% lean to is because he's a draft pick.
Yeah.
But you never saw him until last week do anything except in those preseason games.
Right.
So now, is that just the maturation of a rookie in an offense and, you know, the disjointedness, non-competitiveness of training camp?
Right.
Or is this guy a gamer and they were always going to keep him and it's time to go? So I just had them making 5 because I thought they know who their top 2 are. Right. They're praying for the next 2.
Yeah.
You know, and then we'll see, right? So, but I mean, I think because he's a draft pick and because you probably do keep 6 ultimately, that was maybe one I regret.
Okay.
If I was going to do it again, but it was 2 a.m, frankly.
I
have a lot of 2 a.m. regrets in my
I'm
life.
so tired. He's like a Saturday Night Live writer. What's happening here?
Yeah.
Let's talk about running back, too, because we were talking about this earlier. Obviously, got a lot of guys banged up. You got 2 guys on the PUP list. Pierre Strong is dealing with something. Deontay Foreman dealing with something. We mentioned Jerick McKinnon before. I know Samaje Perine. Perine, do you think they're going to go get a veteran running back, or are they going to just stick with what they got?
I think they're going to explore it. Now, Strong is going to be back at practice today.
Okay.
But the question is he a running back at all? He's one of your best special teams players.
Right.
He could be your kick returner. He's one of your best gunners. He might be the fastest guy on the team in the straight line. But do you see if you need him to be the number 2 running back in September, or are you comfortable with that? So that's where the decision comes in. Foreman will not practice today. It comes down to really next week with him.
Yeah.
It's a rib injury. You know, he's listed at 235. He's not. There's nothing special about him, but he's played. You know, it kind of reminds me of like Carlos Hyde, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know, like you need 2, he'll get you 2. You need 4, he'll get you 2. Right?
Yeah, that's it.
So,
Right? Wasn't that that was Kareem Hunt last year.
We're not doing this.
That was 3-wheel Kareem Hunt there, Jason.
That's the Leroy Horde mantra.
Yeah, Leroy Horde.
So, I think you look there. The return game is the other part of it.
Yeah.
They said Nyheim Hines is our returner, and then we'll see who the other guys are.
Yeah.
And right now, we think it's Pierre Strong, but you need 2.
So he is a returner.
Yes, but you wanted Hines to be the real returner.
Right.
Yeah.
And then who's your punt returner? I don't know. So
Right.
what are your
they
other?
cut Prochet and they cut.
And those guys were never going to make the team.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That was always bring them back on the practice squad. And then
Yeah.
But Hines is on PUP, right, to start the season?
Hines will be on NFI, same as PUP.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
out at least a month.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh,
So
yeah,
that's a big
Pierre
deal there.
will be the returner.
Mary Kay put out something on Twitter today saying that the Browns might shop Jameis Winston, which I don't understand. Does that make any sense to you?
No, it doesn't.
You're not buying that?
I don't think there'd be any market for him first, unless there's a surprise quarterback injury somewhere around the league that we don't know about. The Browns wanted to make this a position of strength, and I think even though they never publicly admitted it, they had to regret the way the Dobbs deal went last year, right?
Yeah.
And I think a couple of weeks ago when they were talking about teams, they thought they could maybe get something for DTR. It didn't work out. So I think it's part of the negotiation process. They did talk about DTR with multiple teams. They did talk about Huntley with multiple teams. Go back to the spring, there was no market for Huntley. That's why he ended up here. It was a really good signing for the Browns. They knew they needed a veteran guy. They knew what his skill set was and how it fit kind of what they wanted the offense to be. And now we're at the day they have to decide. So I think that's probably just conjecture, but I would be surprised. I think probably Huntley doesn't make the team, ends up getting traded maybe for that backup tight end, backup running back or receiver that they need to fill out the roster.
What about the left tackle situation?
That's a great question. Because they play in 10 days, and we don't know who the left tackle is going to be.
Could it be Conklin?
It could be. Now, he played a little bit as a rookie and in his second year, but these were like spot middle of the drive. A guy got hurt, he had to move over, or lined him up there in a certain package they were running. But we only saw Jack Conklin one time doing anything, or maybe twice. But the last time we saw him in a walkthrough period where he's over with the trainer, he was taking left tackle drops. So that's notable. So could it be Conklin? Yes. But again, even though he's activated and he's past his physical, I don't think he's going through a 90-minute practice today, right? Like he just hasn't done it. So, he's played in the league for a long, long time. If he's practicing next Wednesday, can he learn it? Can he do it in a pinch? Sure. And maybe Wills is going to play. But again, now we're getting closer and closer. They're down to 7 practices. So everyone Wills isn't there is probably less likely that he's going to play.
So what is your thoughts on Wills past this season?
That's a great question.
Well, thank
Tyvis.
you. I came prepared.
I think they have always wanted it to work. I think the way they've structured his restructures, if you will, has done that. They drafted him as a young player. They moved him to a new position. But I think he has to earn it. He has to be available, and he has to go out there and play at a high level. So if you look at the future rosters and look at this cap, left tackle is a glaring thing, and they want it to be their guy. But in an ideal world where the quarterback has a good year and the receivers therefore have a good year, you can draft a left tackle in the first year and he costs you a lot less than Jedrick Wills will on the extension.
Does he have dead money after this year?
He does, but it can be that. Like twice, Jason, they've taken what's left on his deal and pushed it forward to make it dead money, just using it because they're just outspending everyone.
We haven't, obviously, I talk to Zach all the time, but we haven't really talked about this. I didn't really think about, I mentioned this earlier in the show. The Browns very clearly have a philosophy when they believe in someone, they lock them up early. And it never really occurred to me. Jed's playing on his 5th-year option, and he has nothing after this. How much should we read into that and their long-term belief? And, I liken it to the Baker situation where they played him with one arm going into his last year because they had to know. They needed to know if it was worth extending or not. And it sort of feels they're in the same spot with Jed of they're still trying to decide if what they have. When you're going in your 5th year, if you don't know, isn't that your answer?
Well, I don't think you have to read into it. I think it jumps off the page. However,
well, I'm very not bright.
However, he gets hurt at midseason last year, right? And so that time that could have been used to earn that extension, even finalize it, he's not there. Then they want to bring him back for the end of the year. Then they switch to the surgery, and now 9.5 months off the surgery, he's not back on the field yet. So you're not going to sign a guy that you don't know about medically. Yeah. So I think it could work out. But I need to see it before I would say, yes, they're going to do it. And they finally have a first-round pick. That's where you get a left tackle 8 times out of 10 is in the first round.
Even as low as they're going to be, more than likely drafting?
Yes, you can still get a left tackle there historically.
What's Conklin's dead money? He has no money, right? After no guarantee
his guarantees are this year, but he has a bunch of money. But you can do the June 1st cut.
Because we were talking about that earlier.
I have the exact money right now if you want.
It's 16 and would save next year. Now you're going to pay for it on your cap for multiple years, but you would save 16 next year. So when you look at next year, the first thing you see is Jack Conklin's not going to be on this team. Now, if he's healthy and has a good year, they'll restructure it and work around it. But if he's not, that's the first thing you see. He's the first guy that's not going to be on this team next year.
Let's talk about who's going to end up making the team on the offensive line. We know the top 6 we've talked about. In your last projection on Sunday, the other guys you had them keeping, Zach Zinter, Nick Harris, Afedi, and Hudson. You think you sticking with that? Any changes in a day or two?
Well, we haven't seen Michael Dunn in almost 4 weeks. So that's my question. Okay. I mean, if Michael Dunn's healthy and available, I think he makes the team, and he's probably the first guard ahead of the rookie.
Is that back again? Is this back?
I don't know.
We've had no update on that.
We haven't seen him.
How close do you think Cohen is, Zach, in terms of making this? I know Dunn's
Cohen
not
will be on the practice squad. Yeah, Cohen will be on the practice squad. He's just – they drafted a guard, and they have Michael Dunn, so he's just not ready. It just comes down to who is your next legitimate option at left tackle? Is it Hudson? Is it Afedi? Or is it having to move Conklin or Bitonio?
Right.
That's what decides next. So I don't think they're going to cut Fetty today because you don't know. But in a week or a month, if the tackles are healthy, then either a Fetty or Hudson's not on the team.
So do you think that, because I seen that they starting the year off with Mike Hall Jr. on the commissioner exempt list.
Yeah.
Do you think a defensive tackle benefits from that, or do you think somebody on the offensive line benefits?
I think a defensive tackle has to benefit from it because you have Tomlinson coming off the injury too, so you probably can't count on him playing. And then the next guy would be Briggs, who body type position-wise is more like Tomlinson anyway. Hall's that pass rusher. Hall, Maurice Hurst, Shelby Harris, they're kind of the same guy. And then, Briggs is that other guy. So I think Briggs might make the team anyway.
Yeah.
I know when they drafted him in the 7th round, like multiple teams called and were like, screw you guys, we were about to take him. Like they wanted him, and the Browns doubled back on the position, right? Some of it was just for the offseason. They were a little worried about Tomlinson. They know those guys are older. But they really thought, hey, we're in the 7th round, and like this guy's a good player. They got him. He was an older prospect. He wasn't like super big to be drafted early, but especially because I think they knew it wasn't going to work with Ika. They said, why wouldn't we take this stab? And it looks like he's going to be on the team.
And Ika's gone, so you had projected 11, I believe, on the defensive line, including Briggs. So if obviously Hall's not going to be there, who's the next guy? Who is the next guy?
Well, Sam Kamara's been waived, but he would come off the practice squad. They traded Chris Williams. I think Ika will stay on the practice squad. You keep developing him. Guys, this is what a crapshoot the draft is, right?
Yeah.
DeJuan Jones has a super high ceiling, and we know might be a starter and star here for years. Right? They took Ika in front of him. Then they waited, and an offensive tackle went right in front of him who might never play for the Colts.
Right.
So
it's crazy.
You just never know. Right? In the history of the Browns, we can go by and say, oh, they could have had this guy.
Yeah.
But sometimes it works in your favor, too. And, imagine being in that draft room and saying, we're going to take Siaki Ika.
Right. And he's shown nothing.
Right. I mean, that's just Jim Schwartz coming in and having the power and saying, I watched last year's film, guys, and you got to get me some warm body.
Right,
and that's what they did.
Yeah, and it is amazing. And the Browns over the years have done such a terrible job drafting. Obviously, overall, they've done much better with Andrew Berry, but everybody makes some mistakes.
Misses.
What about Miles Hardin? He's been like the story of the preseason.
Well, hold on. We got to stick position groups here.
What?
Well, I think the defensive line's pretty cut, especially if Mike Hall is not going to be eligible for the 53. Then I think you have your 10. I think you have your 5 rushers, your 5 interior guys, and then you just kind of sort it out from there.
Do you think Dalvin Tomlinson is going to be ready to go week 1? Or?
I think they hoped so.
Okay.
We will believe. I mean, that guy's a really good player.
And
obviously for this defense, right, Miles being out of this world and Denzel being who he is, that's the keys. But I think for this defense to be great, I think Delpit and Tomlinson have to be healthy because I think that's what helps this defense really get to that next level.
All right, so let's go to the secondary. Go ahead.
Miles Hardin.
Yeah.
Is he going to make this team?
He's right at the bottom of the bubble. I think so, yes. Slot corner is a big money position these days.
So but they got Cam Mitchell.
They got Cam Mitchell, but they don't know what's happening with Newsome after this year. Cam Mitchell came into camp hurt. And if you can find a guy in the 7th round that you think might be your slot corner in a year or two, I think you hang on to him.
What is Denzel Ward's situation now? Do we know if he's going to play week 1? We don't know.
No, I mean, listen, he's shown no desire to quit. Right?
Yeah, right.
And it was 2 full weeks ago. 3 days after it happened, he was running around on the field playing catch. I'm not trying to be a neurologist here. Obviously, it's scary. It's his 5th known concussion in 7 years. So that's scary. But sometimes when a guy gets him, we don't see him for 3 weeks. And last year when Denzel got it in the preseason finale, we didn't see him at all until the Thursday before the first game. I just take it as a good sign that he's out there running around in the joint practices.
Go ahead, Mike.
Zach, what about Justin Hardy in that cornerback room? I know he was a special teams ace. How does he kind of fit into the mix?
It's an interesting one because he's not really a corner. Like, if he's playing corner, you're down. Now, that's a position where you look and say, we have to have an emergency plan. But they signed him because he's a Pro Bowl special teams player. He had $600,000 in guaranteed money. If he's healthy, I think he's probably on the team. So then, is it Miles Hardin? Is it that extra offensive lineman? Where are you skimping on a guy to make room for Justin Hardy, who's only going to play special teams for you?
And a follow-up on that, they may only keep 2 tight ends. Is that a position by not getting that 3rd tight end on the active roster that you can fit a Hardy or an extra offensive lineman? Like, is that one of the ones we're looking at as a?
It is. It is. Now the problem is you can't ever go to a game without a 3rd tight end. So, but you can look on the waiver wire tomorrow, and you can look at other teams' practice squads and do that. But they easily could have 2 tight ends on this 53 and all the way through next Sunday because they only have 2 NFL tight ends on the team right now.
Right.
This is obvious, but for the record, they're going to carry 3 quarterbacks on the 53.
That's always been the plan, barring something else.
Because they got away with 1, right? I guess 2.
Well, they had 2 on the 53 for a lot of time.
Flacco and PJ were both P squad guys. So where's the trim? If you're going to carry 3 on the 53, where's the spot that you're losing that they had last
That
year?
depends on 5 or 6 wide receivers, 4 or 5 or 6 defensive tackles.
Yeah.
But until you know your starting quarterback is fully healthy and can take all the reps, you have to have 3.
Yeah.
Do they still keep 5 safeties? That's been the spot that I said I could see them going down to 4 because traditionally it's 4 and 6.
Yeah. That's a tricky one, Tyvis, for 2 reasons. One, Ronnie Hickman looked really like a good find last year, and he just not been healthy this whole camp.
Right.
And then the guy he was passing last year, DeAnthony Bell, we didn't see at all in camp. He just
Right.
passed his physical yesterday. Right. So they passed his physical. He goes back on the active. Now, does he get cut today and then move to the practice squad, or does he play? He's another guy who's a really good special teams player.
Right.
It might be Bell or Hardy. It might be that 5th safety versus that guy who's a corner who's not really a corner.
Would Bell make it through to practice? I think somebody would pick him up.
That's a great question. Not having seen him in camp, I don't know. He's
Yeah.
an older guy. He's not really. He's only a special teams guy.
Right.
Now, there's always a question with this new kickoff rule. Is it really going to affect the bottom of rosters? And we don't know that. And I don't think we'll know that until after tomorrow when guys get waived. Right. And that's why the Ricci thing hurt the Browns in multiple ways. He was your 3rd tight end.
Yeah.
The O-line was so bad in the joint practices he had to play fullback. And he was going to be on all the first special teams. And then you lose him for the year. So then you don't have a 3rd tight end at all.
Right.
You don't have a fullback at all. And now you have a guy who you could count on for at least 3 or 4 kick teams is not there.
I'm going to hurt Tyvis's feelings. The kickoff is stupid. Start at the 30 and let's go. Abolish the kickoff.
Yeah,
just abolish it.
I don't know that a change is
Sorry.
coming now, Jason. But, I mean, wherever next
That-
year's NFL owners meetings are, I think,
Yeah.
I
That
think this
take
probably
is
one and done.
worse
Yeah, this is.
than you
No, it's
said-
not.
than you disagreeing
They're
that
not gonna
John
stick with
Kinsey
this.
hitting 20.
Yeah.
By
John
the way,
Kinsey
I
hasn't got
appreciate you having my back.
By the
He
way,
agreed with me.
Oh, I thought he said he was
No,
going
I don't say put it at the 30. I'm saying that there's a chance this rule is one and done. I don't
Yeah.
think they're taking the kickoff out of it.
no,
They
not,
should
not right
abolish
now.
well,
It is
obviously
stupid.
not on August 27th.
Tyvis, you can speak to this. The Players Association wants to kick off in the game. That's creating jobs for guys. Right?
Exactly.
Aren't they the same jobs as punt team?
Not really. Not if you go down to one team.
No,
that affects the roster.
no, it's not. I got to make this. Listen, I gotta
Players
make this
Union always
roster
caved
at some
anyway,
point. If I go down there and make a tackle inside the 20 on
Yeah.
kickoff, pay me.
It's a dumb. The whole idea is
dumb.
It's dumb. Just start at the 20. I don't care.
By the-
25, 30, 25.
So you're
30,
not
whatever.
You mean to tell me when you watch football back when everything was good, that opening kickoff didn't do something to you?
Nothing. I love offense.
The Super Bowl when all the lights were
I
flashing
can't
in the 90s.
believe
That was great.
what I just heard. The opening kickoff it didn't shoot stuff through y'all. Like,
Nah, it was cool. Like,
what's
you can't
wrong
kick
with
return
you?
for
What are y'all
touchdown.
dead
I'm willing-
inside?
I'm willing, yes, I've been for years. We talked about this.
Smile.
I'm willing to sacrifice
Man, you don't
that
know what it's
for the stupidity
Yeah.
of what we're seeing now.
You don't know what it's like to they get a bottle like this, and they get like 10 smelling salts and put it in there, and they say, hit that right before kickoff. You don't know what it's like to run down an opening kickoff. Oh, they can never get rid of it.
And after that,
never.
then what?
No, that's different. That's different.
Jason, by the way, how often do you screw up when you're texting Zach Meisel and Zach Jackson because they spelled Zach differently?
I don't think I've ever crossed
No?
those texts. I don't
That's a
think.
surprise.
I know. I'm very good at texting.
All right. Zach, linebacker. Obviously, Hicks and JOK. You have Tony Fields, Devin Bush, and Diabate as the other 3. Any changes there?
Well, Watson, it comes back to the discussion. He's a draft pick, right?
Yeah.
And when they picked him, they really liked him, but he missed the back half of camp. So not seeing him enough, it was hard for me to put him on there. Am I wrong? I don't know.
No,
For a while, I didn't think Bush was going to make it, but I think he's really good on special
You didn't
teams.
think Devin Bush was going to make it?
No, but he's really good on special
We
teams.
need to save 2 minutes at the end. 2 minutes at the end I want to ask him your nutty thing from the other day. I know you got a lot of
Why
nutty
did
things.
you
Which
think
nutty
that?
thing?
He didn't show
Oh,
a
yeah,
lot of
we'll get to it
impression.
at the end. I don't
Yeah.
know what he's talking
Small,
about.
man.
We'll get to it at the end.
Zach,
He was the first
getting
round
back
pick.
to running back
There's a
here.
reason he's available.
What's your best guess as to when Nick Chubb plays his first game?
Probably like late October. Probably like week 7-ish.
Okay.
That'd be my ballpark
Now,
guess.
Mike, I didn't really think this through. Mike, what did you say earlier about all of his incentives are based on 12
12
games?
games.
His incentives are based on playing 12 games,
But
correct?
week 7 would only get him 11 games.
Playing 12 games or being active for 12 games?
Active for 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, look, when he comes back, they're going to give him the ball, but I don't think they're going to give him the ball 20 times.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
I
They
think the vision
barely
was
did it when he
always-
was
Yeah,
healthy.
right.
Oh, my God, we got to hear about that.
There we go.
Anytime he
Tyvis
gets the
wasn't
ball,
really the complainer.
Yeah,
it was J and
anytime
G.
he get the ball 20 plus times, they
Give it to him
win.
20 times and you win.
Yeah.
The vision is those December games.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb is your closer.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb and Myles Garrett, obviously, is your closers.
How are you feeling about Deshaun Watson right now?
Camp was so bad, Bull. So bad.
And not many other people are saying that. Like,
Then they didn't watch camp. Look, they didn't have the line. There was 3 days that all the receivers were in actual team drills.
Yeah.
I get it. But he goes back in 7-on-7, and he holds the ball. 7-on-7, Tyvis.
Yeah.
Well, he always did that.
Right.
You know, we went against him when I was in San Francisco for joint practice, and it was funny because we was watching the tape, and he was standing there like, just like this. He didn't bounce or nothing. He just stood there, and we like, that's not gonna happen in the game.
Right.
So, but yeah.
So I have a level of trust in Stefanski to put together a plan.
Yeah.
I do believe that there's still a good player in there, but I see a lot of bad throws, and I don't see a lot of confidence.
Oof. Is that a big part? I mean, the confidence has got to be a big part of this, right?
Got to be.
There's something. I mean, it's just
He better figure.
has
He
lost
got
that
2 weeks to
confidence.
figure it out. What you talking about?
God.
Dallas game. He better.
Apparently Dallas's offensive line's a disaster, so maybe we're gonna have a defensive game. in
These
this one.
first 8 quarters against Dallas and Jacksonville. I mean,
Yeah.
This is high level games, right,
Yeah.
for the Browns. So
Yeah.
just be 1-1. Figure out what you're good at, what you're bad at, what you need to build on, and go from there.
What happened in that last preseason game? Like, what happened that he was going to play and then he wasn't going to play? I mean, do we know the real story that you?
No,
that you
I
can
know the
share?
coach said there was a plan to play.
Yeah.
So they did. Listen, I would have backtracked it too, given the O-line situation.
Right. Okay.
But I mean, there's no way you could watch the joint practices, let alone watch the film of them 60 times like Stefanski does, and say this offense is ready to roll out.
yeah. So the defense is going to have
I
to
think
kill it.
30 of the 32 quarterbacks played in the preseason.
Was it that many?
Correct.
I thought it was 26, but it could have been 30.
Okay. Well, most of
A
them.
lot. Most of them played.
So
I
A-Rod
don't
and
think it was
Deshaun
30.
was only 2.
I thought it was 25 of the 32.
Yeah, but you knew Aaron Rodgers wouldn't play. I don't know, there were a couple others who didn't, but Mahomes played. I know Burrow played.
Right.
Jordan Love.
Did Lamar play?
I don't think
Lamar
he
didn't play.
Yeah.
That's right. No, but
He's a guy I understand not playing.
yeah.
You know, I mean, he's not coming off an injury last year.
Lamar played more games from October 1st to January 20th last year than Deshaun's played since 2020.
Yeah, so it's weird, but I don't know. It is what it is. Go
Jason
ahead.
said that last week. This whole thing is weird.
It's weird.
And you got a lot of backlash. You got a lot of backlash.
I got so many lashes on that back right now.
You know if Ken Dorsey's going to be up in the booth or on the field?
I think he's going to be on the field.
That's where AVP was.
Right.
I think that's. I don't know.
He's the quarterback's coach, so that makes the most
Yeah,
sense.
okay.
You know?
But some offensive coordinators that don't call plays are up in the booth.
Yeah. I mean, these are things you work out when you
Yeah,
change
sure.
the staff. And look, like, even if you just had him in there for 2 drives, you would have had him in the huddle. You would have had guys line up. That stuff matters. If it doesn't matter, then why do we have training camp?
Right.
Right?
That's fair.
So, you know,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that the season's going to go one way or another, but I
Sure.
cannot imagine that this Browns offense is going to be gangbusters right
So you
away.
think it's going? You think this is one of those years that it takes this offense a couple of games to get
And
going?
what I've seen from the offense, Tyvis, it's to protect Deshaun. It's rid of it super quickly, everything horizontal. You know,
Who are you predicting to win the AFC North?
the Bengals. I think they're the only team that can win the AFC that's not the Chiefs. And I think they're the best team in the AFC North if they're healthy.
So the nutty thing
Yeah, what was
Yeah,
the
bring it
night
up.
thing?
It's the perfect time to bring it up, Jason.
What was it?
when Bull said I think it was last week.
Yeah, the Dak Prescott thing?
If Deshaun
Oh.
flames out again this year, he would go after Dak.
Even though financially it would be nearly impossible. But Jimmy doesn't see, the one thing I give him credit for, he don't care about money. He'll spend whatever.
Well, let me
I know
borrow
the money
something.
probably, in the end, you probably couldn't do it. But in theory, if you could make the money work, I don't think that's crazy. Dak is a great quarterback.
I think if it goes wrong this year, you have your final answer.
That's 100% right. That's it. You
Now,
got to
you would
move
still
on.
have $80 million in
You
dead
do,
money.
and it's a disaster.
And that's
but
the part you got to figure out.
I hear you.
I don't disagree with finding an exit strategy. I've said that. Like, it's this year. And then
But
you
I
gotta
think
work
at
on it.
Thanksgiving this year-ish,
Yes.
we're going to have our answer.
Well, I think you.
Let me ask you this. If Dak were on this team right now, would you think they could win the Super Bowl?
Absolutely.
There you go. That's
Well,
it.
obviously they've had this in their plans because
Yeah.
when we were talking about at the end of the season, when they asked AB about extending the what we call it, Deshaun's money, he said
right.
we don't really want to go into that. What would they do? Renegotiate?
I asked him at the combine, do you have to restructure?
Yeah, restructure.
He said not necessarily.
Yeah.
And then he quickly looked to find another question
That's
because
right.
he didn't want to say
But they
something
haven't,
about it.
and they didn't.
And they
have
haven't
to.
restructured
They've
it.
used other methods. They have $30 million in free cash.
And
space.
I think that's
Not
noteworthy
necessary.
that they did not restructure.
It is, but it also, you could see it both ways. The Eagles have $90 million in dead money sitting for Jalen Hurts that they're going to tackle when it comes down to it. But they feel like Jalen Hurts is going to be their quarterback forever.
Right.
And the Browns have to operate like Deshaun Watson's going to be their quarterback forever.
Yeah.
But at some point in this season, and
Yeah.
not in the Dallas game,
Right,
right,
yeah.
and not in the first Bengals game.
Sure,
But
sure.
not far after, we're probably going to have our answer.
Yes.
If this team has good quarterback play and good health, they can be really good.
Yes.
If this team does not get good quarterback play this year, then this thing borders on disaster.
Right,
Because
and
you
you
have a really good team.
That's right, and
That's
that's
in
why
a
you
really
can't
tight
wait
window.
for a rookie or anything like that. I mean, Dak's. I understand Dak's probably not realistic, and they'll probably re-sign him, but I would do it if there was some possible way. All right. Oh, that was the crazy. I was going to say
That
the
was the
crazy.
nutty.
Anything else nutty that I've said recently, Mike?
There's a lot of nutty things you've said recently.
John Kinsey Noel getting 20
He said he
home runs.
wouldn't take Zach. If a team called the Browns and offered a third-round pick for Jameis Winston, would the Browns say yes?
Yes, but I mean, what team is doing that?
Okay,
This is a nutty thing
I
Bull
said
said
in the
earlier
end.
today.
I said I
Bull
wouldn't
said
do
no.
it because I'm trying to win a Super Bowl this year. And I also said it's an unrealistic question because no team would ever do that.
Right.
So it was an unfair hypothetical.
What is the most value they could get on the open market for Jameis right now?
A 6, probably.
Okay,
That
which you
low.
wouldn't do.
No, I
I'm not
wouldn't do
doing
that.
You
that.
wouldn't
I
do
would
that.
not
doing
There'd be
that.
no reason to do that. That'd be crazy.
Now,
See, I thought a 4 would be somewhat
some
reasonable.
team that's 3-0 loses their starter to a freak injury in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Then more than that. But today,
Yeah, no.
no.
Who's
So
doing that?
what's the fate of
Huntley.
what's the fate of Tyler Huntley?
I mean, he would be a vested veteran. He would just be released if he doesn't make
Yeah.
this team or get traded for a 7 or.
Oh, he vested? Oh, yeah, he ain't making it then.
Yeah, but he's on a minimum contract. Nobody wanted it. That's how they got him. He didn't have any
Right.
other offer.
I
Which is
don't care
surprising
what
they
he
don't
on. He
even
ain't
want him
making
at least as a
it. They'll
third
pick him
quarterback.
back up week 2.
I mean, I don't think he's very good, but
Justin Hardy got more guaranteed than Tyler Huntley did.
Yeah, that's. I can't imagine there's 90 quarterbacks in the NFL better than him.
There's
Even though I
not.
don't like him.
But
So
there's stuff that goes into it. I mean,
Yeah,
you get a
sure.
fine job as Lamar's backup, and they let him walk.
Right. How old
And
is
nobody
he?
else
That's
signed
fair.
him.
That's fair.
26, 27.
Yeah.
See, like he's not probably. You could do better as a
Yeah.
backup, but you wouldn't want him as your your project quarterback.
Right,
So he's
sure.
kind of in that
That's
weird.
true.
Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why he's still there for
Yeah.
3 weeks of free agency.
I would think a team with a running quarterback would want him as a backup, but who knows?
I think the Browns
Yeah.
handled it right, and like I said,
Yeah.
and I don't think there's any reason,
Nah.
barring a crazy offer, to entertain trading Jameis or,
Right.
or doing anything crazy. They were willing to move DTR for the right price. If he's on the team, it means they didn't get the right price.
That's true.
Or in this, the conversations you have on August 14th change by the time this day rolls around because it's about availability, and especially for the Browns. You know, some teams, the Titans, the Patriots, the Panthers, they're looking at this waiver wire saying we can get better for the long term.
Right.
The Browns are saying we need guys to try to be better than 1-1 to start
right.
the season.
Yeah.
That's right.
We got to beat Dallas to start the season.
Absolutely. Zach, great stuff, man.
Awesome.
Thanks for coming in. That was great insight on the roster, and then the final decisions will be made this afternoon.
You could read Zach's stuff on The Athletic if you want. Make sure you follow him at Akron Zach on Twitter. And Zach, thanks for coming in. We're